Welcome, Mr. Leonard Njenga. Feel free. You can adjust your seat to what you like. You have a pen and a notebook there, and some water for you to use as and when you need. My name is Nelson Makanda. I am the chair of this selection panel. Allow me to thank you for showing your interest in the position advertised and to congratulate you for being shortlisted for the same. And just say that this morning we'll have a brief introduction, getting to know you, to hear and try to align who you are with the CV that we have seen and the needs of the Commission. I want to ask my colleagues to introduce themselves, beginning with the Vice Chair.
Good morning, sir.
Morning.
My name is Linda Kiome. I'm the Vice Chair. I take this opportunity to welcome you for your interview session.
Thank you.
Bwana Njenga, good morning.
Good morning too.
Naitwa Bwana Andrew Tanui, mwanachama wa jopo hili la uteuzi, na karibu.
Asante.
And good morning, Mr. Njenga.
Morning too.
Caroline Kituku, a member of the panel. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Leonard.
Morning too.
My name is Adam Solo. I'm a member of this selection panel.
Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Njenga. It's good to see you. Mimi naitwa Nicodemus Bure, na karibu sana.
Asante.
Good morning, Mr. Njenga. My name is Fatuma Ali Saman, and I'm a member of this panel. Please feel welcome.
Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Njenga. Na karibu sana. My name is 𝐋𝐞𝐨𝐽𝐶, and I am a member of this selection panel.
Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Njenga.
Morning.
My name is Evans Misati. I'm a member of this selection panel, and we welcome you to this interaction session.
Thank you.
Now we come to you, Leonard. Briefly introduce yourself. Highlight those milestones within your profile that you think are significant for the role that you've applied for. Let us know if you are a member of any professional society, but also indicate if you have received any award or honors. Please, may you proceed.
Thank you, Chairman. I start with thanking you and the distinguished panelists for finding this opportunity, shortlisting me, that I present myself for this interview. My name is Leonard Njenga, and I'm from Kiambu County. I'm an election expert with over 20 years experience in elections management, local elections management, one regional assignment in the Southern Sudan as electoral training officer with the UN mission in Sudan, and one international assignment in elections management as an advisor with the UN mission in Nepal. I hold a Bachelor of Arts in Sociology, Economics, and Development Studies, and Master of Arts in Peace and Conflict Management from Kenyatta University. I belong to the Kenya Association of Public Administration and Managers, domiciled in Kenya School of Government. Throughout my career, which started from being a clerk in 1997, where I was capturing the actual data, cleaning the details of the voters, mobilizing young people to register, engaging the stakeholders in success of preparing the register, I was introduced to the field of elections. And up to today, in a span of over 20 years, I've been in that field. After that assignment with the ECK, that's the defunct ECK, I got an assignment with the UNDP, with the UN, who are working with the United Nations Volunteers as a civic educator, and I was posted to Baringo district for the civic education for the referendum. That was back in 2005. My assignment had the component of monitoring, since the UNDP had engaged civic education providing institutions, and I was monitoring. And there was also a component of capacity building. Later, I was deployed to Nepal as an advisor for the CA elections, where that was after the unfortunate incident of the last Hindu monarchy, where at the same time there was the insurgence of the Maoists. And since I was with the UN volunteers, the skills that I had acquired were needed there, and I was deployed there as an advisor for the Constituent Assembly elections. We completed the mandate and the elections were done. Then I was deployed to the South Sudan as an electoral training officer, also with a monitoring component and capacity building, working with the stakeholders too. It's during my tour in Sudan, which was a post-conflict environment, that I honed skills in managing elections in situations which are not normal, especially where you have armed combatants being part of the electoral process and they seek positions in an election. That was a challenge that the referendum, which was for unity and secession, the UN had to ensure that there was impartiality in the commission, which was managing the civic and voter education. During that time, there came up an opportunity in Kenya, and I came back home, and I was hired by the IEBC as an elections coordinator. And I was posted to Limuru constituency, where I conducted successfully the 2010 referendum. In the referendum, I was successful. I recruited temporary officials. I managed logistics and also built consensus. And later, there was the aspect of boundary delimitation, of which I feel that there was one achievement that I made of a conflict that arose during consultation with the stakeholders on the naming of a ward, which is called 𝐋𝐞𝐨𝐽 in Limuru constituency, where those were two separate communities. And after the alignment of boundaries, 𝐋𝐞𝐨𝐽 and 𝐶𝐶 never felt that they would lose a name. I consulted the stakeholders, and we were in agreement. We don't have to lose a name and lose all the gains that we had achieved in that boundary delimitation. And that's how 𝐋𝐶𝐴 ward came about. Later, I was posted to RUTO constituency, where I conducted registration for 2013 election. But I was transferred to Yatta constituency, where I was the returning officer, and I took all the activities for the election cycle, and I delivered that election without any contestation. Then I was transferred to Mwala constituency, where I also conducted the election as a returning officer, which was a different environment from where I was. I was able to surmount all the challenges and delivered an election without a challenge. Later, I had a short stint at Gatanga constituency. That was before the 2022 elections, and I conducted voter registration. Later, transferred to Dagoret North constituency, where I am right now, and I delivered 2022 general elections without a contest. Chair, I thought of tendering my application and interest because I'm coming from implementation, where elections take place. I've seen it all. I've seen the challenges. I have many lessons I've learned from other countries. At the same time, Chair, not to forget, I've done a number of election observations, including Egypt, Ghana, Malawi, Zambia, and South Africa, with lots of lessons that I've been having them and aspiring, if I get that opportunity to be in policy, most of those lessons that I've learned, I would take to policy and get incorporated in improving our management of elections. At the same time, I've been successful in recruiting competent officials, managing conflicts, of which I have to say, because of my passion in elections, I've even published a research work on elections preparedness and acceptability of elections. And that work is available and has been used by other practitioners. So, Chair, in this conversation, I hope I'll have a hearing and I will be able to say and demonstrate whom I am, the skills I have, and why I want to be a vision bearer. I have been implementing from the ground. In fact, in the circles, we are called the people from the ground. Success in working with young people, of which we have seen. We need to incorporate their thinking, the way of doing work, and we also mentor them. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. The hearing is here, so proceed.
Thank you.
Buena Linda, please. Mama Linda. Sorry.
Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Njenga, now being a groundsman in the electoral cycle,
Yeah.
and having all that experience in the elections,
Yes.
what key skills and competencies do you think are relevant and essential for the team of commissioners in the, of course, that you will be utilizing as a team in the event you're taken up as a member?
I'm alive to the fact that commissioner level is a policy decision-making level. I'm coming from implementation institution memory, where given an opportunity, I would sit down with colleagues and being led by the chair, I would be in a position to discuss with members of the commission and tell them, this has been existing. I've been on the ground. I've been able to achieve this. And now, these are the gaps that exist. There is the aspect of corporate governance, and having that training, which I've acquired for many years, starting with the leadership and development training from the Kenya School of Government and senior management, I believe the skills that I possess and I have the project approach skill, whereby in all my assignments, I've taken them with a start and an end, with a monitoring component, enough resources, and evaluating each and every phase of my implementation. The policy level requires leadership. I will be cognizant that the chair, being first among equals, will have to have the advantage of someone who has experience in conflict management. Not only experience, but even certification and an interest. And that's how I will be engaging my colleagues professionally and observing the ethos and all those I would call values that are applied in decision making with accountability and responsibility.
Thank you, Mr. Njenga.
Thank you.
Much, Carol. Would you like to ask some question, please?
Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Njenga,
Yes, Madam Carol.
welcome.
Thank you.
Amendment of the Constitution.
Sure.
Under what circumstances does the Constitution require a referendum before it's amended?
Under what circumstances? Can I repeat again?
What are the key circumstances that require a referendum before a constitution can be amended?
The first one is when it touches on articles that are stipulated in the Constitution, that for any amendment to be effected, the sovereign will of the people has to be exercised by everyone participating in a referendum. That is one.
What are these articles of the Constitution, or what are their provisions about?
The Bill of Rights, the structure of the government, of the executive.
What about the structure?
If there will be any alteration on the structure of how leadership in Kenya is elected and how we bestow leadership, I would say if Kenya being a constitutional democracy, where we would want to significantly alter the way leadership is bestowed in this country, I would say if you would factor in the interest of Kenyans after the promulgation of Constitution to change the executive, there has to be that aspect of...
Okay. Another condition?
I said about the Bill of Rights.
The Bill of Rights, the executive, the structure. Mm-hmm.
The structure of government. Also, the destiny of a country is enshrined in the Constitution. If it touches on human rights, I think that component...
Okay, that you mentioned.
Yeah.
So let's come back.
Yeah.
You have been in IBC since 2020,
Yeah.
right? And since 2020, basically since the Constitution was promulgated by the
That's
people of
2010,
Kenya, right? 2010, right?
Yeah.
In those, since 2010 until recently 2021, thereabout, there were attempts to amend the Constitution. Can you please take us through these two attempts and what was the involvement of the IBC in those two attempts?
Okay. The first one was the BBI, or that's the latest, the BBI. And the BBI did not meet the threshold, and it didn't go beyond Parliament. So IEBC had a role, verification of signatures, and taking the signatures to county assemblies for the county assemblies also to look at how people had participated in endorsing for. And in BBI, the IEBC did its role. He verified signatures, and it didn't go far. So there was no referendum.
So the IBC was only involved to the extent of verification of signatures. That's what we are saying, right?
Yeah.
All right. So why did the 2 attempts fail? Now you're speaking about BBI. I have not heard you speak about the other one. Let's focus on the BBI, the one you're speaking about. So why did it fail? And what was the fault of IEBC at all in that failure? As was said by the Supreme Court, the Court of Appeal, and the High Court.
The court didn't rule in favor because there was petition, and since it did not meet the threshold of being allowed to proceed to the next level, the court ruled against it, and the issue of the BBI was done with the court's ruling.
Okay, so let's come back to IEBC. Should you become successful and you become a member of the IEBC, and there is an attempt to amend the constitution during your tenure, how would you ensure that the IEBC performs its functions and its mandate in regard to the referendum process in a constitutional manner and adequately within the legal framework?
Conduct of referenda is one of the mandate of IEBC, and IEBC has to facilitate ground for conduct of the same. And it's only a referenda that citizenry can exercise their right. They have a right to voter education. They have a right to be in the register of voters, where voter registration has to ensure that there is a voter's roll which has integrity. And IEBC has to facilitate logistics, where IEBC has to consider each and every Kenyan, whether within the boundaries of Kenya or out of the country, has exercised the right in that referendum. So IEBC would abide by the Constitution, apply applicable laws as per the Act, ensure that there is integrity in the process, and at the same time, a referendum has an aspect of patriotism, where the IEBC has to ensure even the marginalized interest groups and all those who will have that desire to alter the components or the aspect that they feel have to do with the constitution changed, considered.
Okay, so what I'm hearing from you maybe what I would term general mandate and general things that the IEBC must put in place. What is the specific role of IEBC, and how would you ensure that if that process is, subjected to an audit, to a legal audit, that IEBC acted within its constitutional and legal mandate?
The referendum mandate is enshrined in the Constitution.
Absolutely. So, in performance of that constitutional duty, what is specifically required of IEBC?
Okay, the IEBC has to ensure that there is fairness, accountability, integrity of the process, and participation of everyone, every Kenyan in the process. So the IEBC has to apply available resources and technologies, make sure that there is no marginalization, and that ensure that the sovereign will of the people has been exercised all along the process.
Okay, so those are very good general principles. I was looking for very specific ways, like how, for example, would you ensure that there is public participation, how do you ensure there is fairness in the process? Like, what are these measures? What are these specific things that must be done? Because those are general principles that would
Right.
guide IBC.
Right. I underscore the aspect of public participation. I would say success of IEBC and trust in all the processes has to come along with public participation, which has also been brought in our ways of handling public issues. And public participation brings in aspect of ownership, destiny shaping, where IEBC all the time, not only for the trust, but making sure that each and every step, either in elections or the referendum, the stakeholders are involved and their say is considered.
Thank you very much, Mr. Njenga. I wish you well. Over to you, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. I now want to invite 𝐋𝐞𝐨𝐽 to ask you some questions, please.
Thank you very much, Chair. Mr. Njenga, you told us you are an election expert with over 20 years of elections management.
Yes.
Before I ask you a question, I want to clarify a few things.
Yes.
You said you worked for UNMISS.
Yes, in Sudan.
How long did you work there?
I worked from 2008 and almost towards 210, and I left after finishing.
How long?
1.5 years or 2 years.
What was your role?
I was an electoral training officer with the United Volunteers.
Yes, what did you do and where were you deployed?
I was deployed in northern Bahal, El Ghazal in the South Sudan, specifically in Awil.
Yes.
And in Awil. And I remember interacting with the...
No, what were you doing there?
Okay, I was in capacity building and also the UN component of monitoring programs.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You also told us you are deployed as a UNV in Baringo. Is that
yes,
right?
in civic education UNDP.
So who deployed you? UNDP does not deploy people locally.
United Nations Volunteers. I mentioned UNV Kenya. I mentioned UNDP, but I was a UN volunteer.
Yes, which local organization deployed you?
We had a consultant by name South Consulting and Professor 𝐋𝐞𝐨𝐽𝐶𝐚.
Okay.
Yes.
So currently, you say you are deployed as a senior elections officer. Actually, you say you are deployed you have worked with IEBC as a senior elections officer since 2010.
Yeah, 2010.
Where you work from the headquarters?
No, I'm stationed in Nairobi County, Dagoretti North constituency as an elections officer.
So senior elections officer does what? You are at what level? Are you at county level or constituency
I'm
level?
the constituency level.
Constituency
in
level.
fact, that was only change of name from constituency elections coordinator to senior elections officer.
Thank you. Thank you. Does IEBC have a policy framework for training and continuous professional development?
Policy exists.
No, specifically for training and continuous professional development.
I'm aware there exists electoral training policy.
Okay.
And it has served for the purposes of various electoral cycles, of which I've been in 3 of them, but also require a bit of improvement.
The reason why I'm asking this is I want to find out how often the training of election officials occurs at IEBC and under what framework, under what legal framework or policy framework, including study tours, continuous professional development, deploying people for observation missions, and all those kinds of things. Are those governed by any policy at IEBC?
I have mentioned that one thing, the training policy exists.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so how often is training conducted? I want you to associate this with the recommendation of the 𝐋𝐞𝐨𝐽 report.
Okay, there is a gap, I admit that. And most of these trainings come close to general elections. And the 𝐋𝐞𝐨𝐽 recommendation was that there should be continuous capacity building for the staff. Benchmarking exists, and I would say there is a serious gap in it. Personally, all those experiences that you have seen are personal initiative through other elections managers in other countries who invite me, and I get authority.
Very good, very good.
Yeah.
So if you are lucky and you go to the IEBC,
Yeah.
what best practice in both the policy framework and the application itself are you going to employ for training at commissioner level, at secretariat level, and at the temporary staff who are deployed as election officials during elections? Just the strategies, and name just three strategies.
Thank you, Ambassador. Skills and competencies are very key in elections management. I would come up with enhancing a policy on productivity and skills development for every cadre in the commission. In this, I would advocate for available resources. We have so many resources. We have a lot of work that has been done, not domiciled in IEBC, but a lot of elections management resources exist. Use partnerships where many partners are willing, and I would say the policy level, to partner with the commission in transfer of skills and development. I would have other approaches. For example, the other day I was thinking of possibility of having an elections symposium or exhibition, because after 2022 I've witnessed a number of institutions even having an election framework using digital platform. And I'll give a good example, because I'm in voter education at the grassroots level, and I know all those resources are available and they'll be used to enhance the capacity and productivity of all cadres of the commission.
Thank you, Mr. Njenga, and all the best. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you. FCPA, tell me, please. Would you like to ask some question? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So, Mr. Njenga, these assignments that you are undertaking in Sudan and Nepal, you are there on private capacity, not as an employee of IEBC.
Those are my early stages. Those are, I would say, 5 years before I joined IIEC. I've been with IEBC for 15 years.
Okay.
The first 5 years, I indicated I started as a clerk with the defunct ECK with responsibility of...
No, just clarify that you are not an employee there.
That time I was not an employee of IEBC. I joined IEBC in 2010. For the two assignments, those are after graduating, I became a volunteer. And that's how I got
that's
into
okay.
Yeah.
I wanted to confirm that.
Yes.
Now, IEBC operates in a fast-changing legal and political environment. There are a lot of changes that keep on, even as late as the eve to the election. There are always changes to the election laws. So what weaknesses might affect the ability of IEBC to strategically plan and adapt to those changes? And the reforms, what reforms would you propose to help IEBC to adapt to those changes or enhance its resilience to the changes? Thank you.
Thank you, CPA. After each and every electoral cycle, there is post-election evaluation, where that evaluation starts from where elections takes place in identifying exactly the gaps and the successes and how that can be used to improve the next electoral cycle. So by using the evaluation reports, legal gaps are identified, and it's not only from the evaluation, even the reports from the observers, local and domestic, all those gaps that have been identified are prepared. The Commission presents them to Parliament for making the running of the elections better. So on the legal aspect, I would say has to do with the Commission preparing all the legal reforms and engaging the stakeholders all through, because candidates, political parties are key, and the Kenyan people also want to see that they have been facilitated to exercise their sovereign will through a free, fair, credible, and an election with integrity. So all those changes, especially the legal, or rather it's mandatory for the legal ones. We have seen the ones which are already on the table. They were identified also internally by the IEBC team. I've also seen recommendation in the NADCO report, and also the Supreme Court advisories, of which have to be considered in improving the legal framework. Structural would require the Commission, which I'm seeking favor to be there in decision making and give direction in terms of how to administratively improve on how elections are managed, including accountability, prudent use of the resources, building trust, and making sure that the stakeholder engagement all along is done for the sake of good conduct of elections.
Thank you. And lastly, how would you handle this scenario that Mr. Leonard Njenga, a senior election officer at IEBC, will now be in charge of the CEO of IEBC, the two deputy CEOs, 2 deputy CEOs, 9 directors. There are 9 directors, I think 20-something managers. There are how many? There are 47 county election managers. So how would you handle that scenario, that now you are a senior election officer, but you are on top and you are managing all these people who are above you? Thank you.
The structure in IEBC has all those senior levels, and I'm cognizant that I have my seniors, if I get that favor, and be considered. I'm a professional. I've demonstrated the same. Being in South Sudan, I had one of my senior directors who was working in a program in South Sudan. I was, in terms of the UN, I was above her. And when we came back to Kenya, she was my senior. She demonstrated professionalism, mentoring, even if she was my senior. And it doesn't mean that because I'm coming from what you're calling the ground, that I don't see what is required up there. I have to use sense of recognition that I'm there with defined roles, responsibilities, and I would be cognizant that with seniority there comes responsibilities, and that's how I would want to approach.
Thank you. I wish you well. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Hati. Evans, please.
Thanks so much, Chair. Ronald, I also want to establish your understanding of the Campaign Financing Act and part 3 of the functions of the Commission, pursuant to Article 88.4.1 of the IEBC. They were saying that IEBC should keep a register of authorized person, supervise candidates, set spending limits, set limits and verify sources of contributions, monitor and regulate campaign expenses, provide a framework for reporting campaign expenses, and on and on. You think it's practically possible for IEBC, given that now you are a senior manager of the constituency, to be able to do all this? Remember the last time IEBC was saying candidates should open accounts, different bank accounts for sourcing. I'm now talking about operationalization of the regulations of the IEB campaign financing.
Thank you. First of all, I'm alive to the fact that the Campaign Financing Act, where it is, the issue of its suspension, but even by the time it got where it is, the drafters were aware of why there is need to monitor campaign financing. There was an aspect of how much a candidate or a political party uses in a contest. You look at the Kenya we are in right now, the young people don't have the resources. The women might not have the resources like men. And that money might be illicit money. And we don't want to bring that aspect of such funds being used to acquire leadership positions in Kenya. So the thinking was right. And I also have that thinking of, if the framework is in place, I being from a constituency level, I'll be able to monitor how candidates are spending the money. The framework would come from policy, brought down to where I am, and I've seen it. And I'll give you a good example. In security arrangements, of which I've been successful in my area of assignment, whenever we have meetings, I take charge as a convener. And it doesn't degenerate to what I've seen in other areas where there are no terms of engagement. And being the convener, I take charge of the process, involve all the stakeholders, and my prime objective is achieved. So even in campaign financing, I would come up with, from the national, of which I want to seek an opportunity to be there in coming up with that framework.
Let me take you back. I want us to be very practical.
Yeah.
You are a constituency manager, and the campaigns are on.
Yeah.
You are in office.
Yeah.
You are preparing for the election day, and the candidates are campaigning. We have maybe 20 or 30 candidates. Please, can you tell us how possible is it that IEBC can be able to monitor the activities of the candidates in terms of campaigning? Is it practically possible?
I would start with another example. How are we able to monitor the code of conduct of candidates, yet we are preparing for elections? It's because there are structures, collaboration with other agencies, security agencies. So even on spending, I would say there are other institutions in Kenya which monitor illicit spending of funds. They will be very much alert. They would collect evidence. And if such a case, they would bring proof to IEBC, and in case of an electoral, breaking of an electoral rule, of which is electoral code of conduct, there has to be repercussion of the same, the worst being being taken out of the race.
Thanks so much, Njenga. Now, let's go back to trying to understand that as a commissioner, your understanding of the environment you'll be operating in, the environment of the stakeholders. Now, here you are, you have, the election has been done, you have declared candidates, those who have been elected. In your own view, how do those elected leaders affect the work of IEBC in subsequent years by action of during their, when they are discharging their duties as elected leaders?
Thank you for the question. First of all, candidates are brought by political parties or they are independent. And the caliber of leadership starts from there. We only have the requirements. And once leaders are elected, they have to have that moral and responsibility of making sure that they deliver as per their campaigning manifestos. And that on IEBC, it affects us so much because whenever leadership is elected and it doesn't deliver as per the promises, the citizenry, we always feel that IEBC midwifed leadership which was not right. And that dents also our image, of which we don't have control on the candidates.
Thanks so much, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Asante.
Thank you very much. I want to ask Fatuma to ask you some questions. Fatuma, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Njenga,
Yes, Madam Sawan.
what would the IEBC do to avoid mistrust and conflict when dealing with powerful groups like the major political parties and the media?
Powerful groups and the media. I start with the powerful groups. IEBC should always be guided by the constitutional mandates, starting with the independence. Not being influenced in any way in decisions that are made to advantage of the so-called powerful groups. And when IEBC operates under the confines of the Constitution, and I would say for the Commission, when you have tenure of office, you're taken care of, you understand the mandate, and you're a patriot, you can always do your work. You don't need favors, you don't need intimidation, but you deliver as per the will of Kenyans. On media, constant communication and facts. Whenever there is misinformation and disinformation, come up, explain. If there is a gap, mitigate. And since media sets the pace, this has to do with trust to the institution. If media gets everything right, because you have an open policy where each and every aspect is catered, questions are answered, you have nothing to hide. Media becomes a partner in execution of duty.
I do agree with you that the law sets the directions.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
But really, these laws have always existed.
Mm-hmm.
And conflict has been there.
Okay.
So what is it that the persons, or rather those interpreting the law, require to do to avoid this mistrust and conflict?
You have asked what those who are supposed to interpret the law to build trust in the process. I'll give you an example of something that I've observed that happens to the second layer of settling a dispute in election. That is the courts. Personally, I've felt that whenever there has been a ruling, even that touches on Article 114, where a petitioner uses evidence which the court itself declares was not right, and the court rules and doesn't subscribe punishment, I feel that dents image of the institution, because the court will rule that the IEBC met the threshold. But how about all that process that IEBC has been taken, maligning, misinformation, production of false evidence, and then the court doesn't subscribe? Then the preceding elections will have that aspect of feeling that you went scot-free, you produced evidence which was not right, but the image has been dented. So we would also want to partner with the other level of dispute resolution, that is the courts, in making sure that we inject hygiene in how we manage and conduct our elections. In addition to that, the component of stakeholders cannot be underestimated. In the success of elections, you have to work with the stakeholders. You're not doing it right, and stakeholders like Parliament, as you indicated, IEBC has to come up with proposals on mitigating the same. Take them to Parliament, and they get enacted, and that ensures that whatever IEBC does, including additions to the code of conduct, will make sure that the process has considered the confines of the Constitution and the laws of the land. Thank you.
In its own strategies and its own way of doing things as well.
Yeah, IEBC has to be proactive too. And I think given that opportunity, I would share experiences and other proposals that I have. I share with my colleagues. If they get to Parliament, I've been having them down there, but this will be a platform where I can place them on the table.
Thank you very much, and I wish you well.
Thank you.
Back to you, Chair.
Yeah.
Thank you. I want to ask Nicodemus to ask some question, please.
Thank you very much, Chair. Njenga, I'm interested in what you call the IEBC or election exhibition.
Again?
The election players, I think something about the exhibition on election matters.
Exhibition.
In your discussion with Madam Koki,
Yeah.
you talked about the election exhibition as part of your strategy.
Okay. By this I meant,
Yeah.
I'm alive to the fact that the timelines are very strict. But after the conduct of 2022 general elections, and my passion in following on latest developments in elections management, I've discovered, for example, election technology, of which it has been touched on even by the Supreme Court. I would have a strategy of inviting not only local but international players in election management in Kenya, and we host an exhibition whereby each and everyone who feels that they have a program, a framework, a gadget, they would come, and with our technical team, instead of all these benchmarking tours, which might be very, very prescribed, they come on board, but the international exhibition we'll have demonstration of those people in elections management, including some that I already know have come up with a system where you register digitally, you have tabulation of results, you have verification, you have the monitoring component, of which, if that can be confirmed, would be used in the country upon having the framework anchored in law. Thank you.
Thank you, Leonard. And having worked in IEBC, I'm sure you are aware of the many aspects that make election very expensive. What will you do as a member, now not working as a secretariat, but as a member of the commission, to reduce the cost of election?
Cost of election has many drivers, starting with procurement. I'm alive to the latest news in terms of the budget requirement, which was heading to over 60 billion, of which, if there was staggering of procurement, that could have been another issue. Also, there are some of these functions which partners are willing, and I've seen it because I've been in strategic planning. I've been lucky to be in a technical working group where after we finish, or rather after the strategic plan is validated, potential partners come in, they have their funding, and they are willing to partner with IEBC. I'll give an example of voter education, which takes a very big chunk of the funds. We would take it like a resource where the resource would be used to complement and reduce the expenditure. And I would have the advantage because with my exposure, I know a number, local and international, who will be willing and not involved in some of those aspects which can surrender the mandate of IEBC. We have groups that focus on marginalized communities, and they're willing each and every time to come on board, conduct voter education, offer logistics. After validation of our materials, they are willing to go on the ground, and they are well funded. The other one is prudent use of finances. I would say, how many offices in IEBC in the whole country are in premises where they don't pay rent? Through my initiative as a constituency coordinator, I was able to write a proposal to management when I was in Roiro constituency, and I secured space from government land, and I was given resources, and I constructed an office. And that office, from the time I left Roiro constituency, removed all the expenditure, including the warehouse and security. And once given that opportunity, I would even make sure that anniversary towers in North at the CBD, it's somewhere there where all the cost that translates to cost per square feet is no longer. It will be a one-time, one-phase expense, and that solution will be resolved. We have seen it in South Africa. They have the EC Center. The EC Center has training facilities, has IT hub, has conferences hubs, and I would see a scenario where even Kenya would be the same. Of course, I would not suggest to have it at the CBD, out of the CBD, but with participation of the stakeholders, I would do that. The other one, and this one takes a lot of funds, training. Why do we conduct training the last minute? Can't we do it online? If I need trainer of trainers, We only need to come up with the materials. Start now from the constituency. Accredit. By now I should be having trainer of trainers for 2027. And I only require updating them on development as the laws are being anchored in our management of elections. And by the time we get to conduct of elections, I would only confirm their availability, including temporary staff. We spend a lot of money having temporary poll officials. We pay them even during training, and I would want to save funds using the same. Thank you.
Thank you, Njenga, and wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Invite Professor to ask some questions, please.
Leonard Njenga,
Yes, Professor.
you've worked in IEBC for now 15 years.
Yes, Professor.
During that period, what has been your career progression?
I don't look at my assignment
No,
in
no.
terms of...
I just want you to tell me, in 2010, I entered as a clerk. In 2014, I was promoted to this. In 2020, that's all I'm asking.
I was coming to that.
Now just go to it because we don't have a lot of time.
There is stagnation. It's a gap, very demotivating.
But just tell me first so that I...
Okay.
It's the panel
From-
that will judge whether
I've only-
there's stagnation. No, you
I've
just
on-
tell us how you have progressed.
Okay. Career-wise, I would say I'm stagnant.
No, no,
But
Leonard,
Yes.
walk us through that in 2010, I entered IEBC as this. Subsequently, I'm now this. What is that trajectory? Like me, I would tell you, I entered the University of Nairobi. It has been there my only employer,
Sure.
apart from consultants. I entered as a graduate assistant in 1996. And I can tell you how I progressed until where I am now. So can you tell us that progression?
all right, I get your point.
Yeah.
I joined IEBC as an elections coordinator. And currently, I'm a senior election officer with only change of name. I'm still at the same position, stagnant, but that doesn't mean that personally I haven't improved in elections management. I've been doing my research, and I would say this is a policy gap and
Okay.
maybe another scheme that
I'll
may
have
be in
to
the
ask
offing.
a lot of questions in order to get what I want.
Yeah.
From the position you have now, which one is the next? All the way up to CEO.
Okay. The next position is county elections manager, of which the policy of IBC recruitment, you can only come up when a vacancy falls from the constituency which you are recruited.
After county elections manager?
After county elections manager, we have the managers at the headquarters.
Okay, next.
From the headquarters, you have directors.
Okay,
And directors, then they have the secretary to the commission, who's the CEO.
what about the deputies to the?
The deputies are deputies to the
CEO?
CEO. And there are two of them.
Okay,
Yeah.
so can you just tell us, there's all those positions, nearly 4 of them.
Yeah.
So what is driving Leonard Njenga not to seek that progression, but instead jump to the commissioner? Where is that drive coming from? Or what, I'm just trying to see what's motivating that.
I'm coming from implementation cadre. And I've been through 3 sets of vision bearers. Those are 3 sets of commissioners. In fact, I feel that I've been employed by 4 employers in one institution for the past 15 years.
How so?
The existing policy does not align to career progression, which is a serious gap. And apparently, I will tell you, there are even many qualified, even overqualified at my cadre, better than what you have up there.
Thank you.
So
My
that's a
last
serious
question.
gap.
My last question, because I've understood where you're coming from.
Thank you.
If Leonard Njenga was made a commissioner, what strategies and vision would you use to maintain staff morale and effectiveness in the IEBC?
I would start with auditing of skills and competencies. That will be my first thing. Secondly, I would advocate for a reward mechanism, of which you can see where I am. I've been successful in all those elections. And in other institutions, we see what happens. At my cadre, and it's very, very unfortunate, the only person who ever had an award is the late Daniel Musyoka, my colleague, and may he rest in peace. He got the award posthumously. I would make sure that there is recognition. For example, what I've done with the research. What is a repository of my research? I'm only called by colleagues in other EMBs. I've seen new work. What are you thinking about it? What have you done in your country with the work that you have done? And in this, I will be in a position to recognize the same. The temporary staff, whom we are going to use as majority, they have also stagnated. Since I joined IEBC, we were paying 1,000 irrespective of inflation, the times they are living in, and also an inclusion of pay as you earn, 30%. So the take home is 700 shillings, including Nairobi. How do we go about it? And that's why I had proposed even having accreditation of temporary staff where we can start building a database. By the time they come, already they have those skills. And they start interacting with our materials, our processes. That when I'm recruiting, the first question is not what is IEBC and what is the mandate of IEBC. We also build interest in management of elections. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Prof, do you have some small, two short questions, please?
Sure. Leonard Njenga, you told us in your own description
Yes.
that you are an election expert.
Yeah.
Can you tell this panel how other EMBs, 3 ways in which EMBs come to office? You can include this one if you so wish.
How EMBs come to office? I'll give an example of this competitively through this panel. When you conclude your assignment.
No. I just want that, for example, the way you have said, in a country like Kenya, you have a selection panel. In a country like India, you have this. In a country like Germany, this is how they come into office. That's all I want. Selection panel through competitive exercise is one way of commissioners coming into office.
Yes.
Which other way is used globally, including here in Kenya? There are different ways in which commissioners have come into office?
They can be direct appointments. Yeah.
Any other?
I talked of competitive, and the other one, interest or stakeholders nominating representatives
Thank
can
you.
also be another avenue.
My second question, which two African countries, now that you have worked in Africa, which two African countries were never formally colonized by European powers?
Ethiopia. Ethiopia wasn't colonized, and Liberia.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Leonard. We've appreciated talking and learning from you and the perspectives you bring. Do you have any question or comment, kindly? In a minute.
I would want to take this opportunity to thank the panel for giving me this opportunity to present my case, to express my desire to be in policy and become a vision bearer. I have implemented enough. I have identified gaps. I have my proposals, and for the love of Kenya, I would wish to be considered for this position. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your time. The notebook and the pen are yours. The water, if you so wish. You find a gentleman with certificates for you at the door as you exit. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Koki, can you invite Martin?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much. Can we invite the next candidate? Yes. Hapana, sio ya